are you going?
I'm gonna get drunk.
Atta girl.
Take stuff from work. It's the best way to feel better about your job. Never buy pens or pencils or paper. Take them from work. Rubber bands, paper clips, memo pads, folders. Take them from work. It's the best way to feel better about your low pay and appalling working conditions. Take an ashtray. They got plenty. Take coat hangers. Take a trash can. Why buy a file cabinet? Why buy a phone? Why buy a personal computer or word processor? Take them from work. I took a whole desk from the last place I worked. They never noticed, and it looks great in my apartment. Take an electric pencil sharpener. Take a case of
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 15 of the Conquest of Popcorn. I'm Bardo.
I'm Pinko.
And we're here again to talk about films. Again.
Movies.
Movies from a left anarchist perspective.
We don't do that.
We do.
No.
We have been.
This is a politics podcast.
No.
No.
Okay. We could be that, but there's like
so many of them.
There's a lot of those, and we don't even fucking do that. We're here
to have fun, unwind. Right?
Yeah, this is about not worrying so much about the hell world that we have all found ourselves in this timeline where we're all banging on the doors to get out, and but there's also like movies.
Yeah, nice place to escape. This is a podcast where Pinko drinks gin, eats ice cream, and watches movies.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
But before we talk about movies, multiple movies.
Yeah, we're gonna do
week.
3 movies in one.
Yeah, it's gonna be fucking 6 hours long. And,
whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, we're gonna breeze through 3 movies. It's gonna be great. Before we do that, just what's going on? How's your week?
Well, in keeping with the theme of this week's podcast, I hate my job.
Boo.
So I'm working in a summer camp, and I really like the kids. They're great. I mean, they're not great, actually. They misbehave a lot, but they are, 10 years old, so that's okay.
So, that's what you do.
But I feel like I don't know what I'm doing all the time. I feel like I don't have that much backup, from my coworkers.
How many kids are in this class?
It varies, every day. Today I had 12. Some days I have, 6.
Okay.
Some days I have, 15. It's all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're, I guess I could understand one teacher controlling is the wrong word. It's sort of rounding up and pointing in a singular-ish direction a group of 10-year-olds if they see this teacher every single day and have a real relationship with this teacher rather than this is just this person I'm seeing over the summer during my camp.
Yeah, well, the other thing is I'm supposed to teach them lessons about stuff, and they don't really want to do that.
Weird.
They're on summer vacation and sort of take issue with the idea that they should have to do any kind of classwork, and I kind of agree.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's fun. We're doing projects and stuff, but like crafts and things, and sometimes they're into it, but a lot of times they're like, "What? Why do we have to do this?" And I don't know. I wish that I could just take them outside and let them run around and play in a creek and look at bugs and stuff all day.
That would be fucking cool.
They did look at a bug today. It was bad. There was a cockroach in the gym. The building has a lot of cockroaches.
That is bad.
That's another thing. There's cockroaches, and I'm like, what the fuck? This is a school.
Wow, that's horrifying.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Schools are not all they're cracked up to be.
Yeah, that is what I keep hearing.
Yeah. For
years and years and years now, but for some reason, cities really like them.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, something. School boards as a place of real democracy in a society where that sort of participatory expression is dwindling.
Yeah, for real. So what about you?
Oh, I don't know. Fucking fuck, what have we done this week? I don't know, not a ton. We're we're getting out of our lease early, I think. So we're gonna move to like instead of paying like kind of like a lot for a like one little room, we're gonna pay a little for like a house.
Yeah, so we're gonna move to a less expensive part of town, and rent a townhouse. I think we're hoping, if we get approved for it.
Yeah,
and it'll be like 3 bedrooms.
Yeah, so
instead of paying more than that for a studio,
podcasting
in a nice
room.
Yeah,
and like recording room, so I'm not recording music in over a year, like well over a year, and that's fucking disappointing. But I'm gonna have a place where I can just have the stuff. It's all set up. It's all good to go. You just come in, you plug in, and just go. And then there'll be like Bardo music again. It'll be cool.
That sounds great.
Yeah, if Easel's up,
you can write the intro music for our podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Just sort of like contemplative, like what did Lilo and Stitch make me think of? But yeah, no, I probably won't be doing that. I'll probably keep ripping it from iTunes because I'm intensely. I really hate most of what I've recorded.
I think all artists hate their own work.
Oh yeah, I mean, actually, I like a lot of the stuff I've recorded, but like most of like that I've recorded and then like published in some shape or form, most of that I like to a certain extent, but that's like 1% of what I've recorded. I've recorded so much more stuff that just goes in the trash after I like keep it because I do this thing. It's like, I listen to it right afterwards. I might not like it, but like, maybe in a month I'll think, oh, this is better than I thought. And then I listen to it in a month. I'm like, this is still shit. And I throw it out. So I probably won't do that for this podcast. That sounds like a lot of emotional labor.
Okay, well, we'll keep stealing music from YouTube.
Yes, fuck yeah.
All right, so I guess we should just jump into it.
Yeah, let's jump into it.
We're doing 3 movies, and the theme is I Hate My Boss.
Yeah.
So
everyone could relate to this.
Yeah, everyone can relate to it. We're gonna do The Devil Wears Prada, 9 to 5, and Office Space.
Yeah, I'd seen, because I'm a 30-year-old white dude, I've seen Office Space probably 12 times. And because I'm a 30-year-old white dude, I've seen 9 to 5 and The Devil Wears Prada 0 times. I really fucked up on 9 to 5 though, because that is a knee slapper.
Yeah, I love that movie. Dolly Parton is so cool.
She's amazing.
And I love the intro song a lot.
Yeah, it's
really
all great.
Good. We should definitely put it into this song or this podcast.
Yeah, we'll be in there.
So each of these movies is about the relationship of a worker to their boss, or mostly to their like direct boss or to capital as such. But they each kind of take a different approach. Like they all look at the relationship in different terms with like a different idea of how that relationship is supposed to work.
Yep.
I think that the least revolutionary of these is The Devil Wears Prada.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think the only one that is like is praxis is 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I like, there's things about Office Space I like a lot, and there's a lot of it that I kind of like wag my finger at. But it's all finger wagging towards The Devil Wears Prada. No hat tipping at all,
Yeah. So The Devil Wears Prada, it's about a young woman who just graduated from Northwestern University with a journalism degree. Her name is Andy Sachs, and she's played by Anne Hathaway, who I really like Anne Hathaway quite a lot.
I think everyone likes her now, right?
Yeah, she's wonderful. Rihanna said something nice about her.
That's right.
But so she just graduated, and she's trying to get a job at a newspaper, and didn't get a job at a newspaper, but was offered an internship kind of, she's like a job. She's working
an
as
executive assistant.
Yeah, she's working as an assistant to the editor of a fashion magazine. The magazine's called Runway. The editor is named Miranda Priestley, played by Meryl Streep. And Andy has turned down a position at Stanford Law for this job. This job that pays terribly, and her boss is a monster.
Yeah, the idea is that she'll make like the running rumor is that if she can survive a year as Miranda Priestley's assistant, she'll be able to land any writing job she wants.
Yeah, and everyone keeps reminding her 1 million girls would kill for this job.
Yeah.
Throughout, everybody says this is the job that 1 million girls would kill for.
Yep. But yeah, it just becomes so so I like to think of this movie is it sort of starts where Grease ends. So Anne Hathaway or Andy Sachs comes in and immediately everyone in the office just kind of like chastises her for looking frumpy. Like on her first day, like what's his name? The character's name is Nigel. It's Stanley Tucci. Arrives and brings her like a pair of stilettos to wear, and basically everyone like is like, you look like shit, and she's made to feel really bad, and Miranda Priestley is like making demands that like don't make any sense because she doesn't know any lingo, and she like goes home and she's like, oh, boyfriend, who's Adrian Grenier, I think is how you say his name, the dude from Entourage.
That is the dude from Entourage, isn't it?
Yeah, Nate. Nate is the dude from Entourage.
I hate that show.
But yeah, they, you know, her and her friends and her boyfriend, they all like gab about like how fucking lame these people are who are obsessed with fashion and don't have anything. But then like one day she's like, oh, actually I am gonna get dressed up.
So she goes down to the like closet, as they call it at Runway, and asks Nigel to help her pick out some stuff, and he's like, well, I don't think anything will be your size. You know, it's all sample sizes. You're a size 6. They keep telling her how fat she is, and it's like, Anne Hathaway is not fat.
No, never.
But this is something, she like transforms herself for this job. Like, she loses weight, she gets down to size 4, she completely changes how she dresses, her whole personality changes, and
which is what I mean by like the end of Grease, because the end of Grease, she comes out, you know, the girl who everyone's been making fun of for not being a greaser comes out, and she's like wearing leather and smoking.
Yeah, I mean, she's like dressed up all in black. They're so
and everyone's like, woo, we're friends now, and then the movie is over, and that's the lesson of the movie is like, be like your friends and you'll have more friends.
Yeah.
Smoke, damn it, you dork.
Well, I don't think that Andy ever ends up smoking in this, but
no,
she does change her whole look and wear a lot of black leather. She also destroys all of her personal relationships for this movie, or for this job. Misses her boyfriend's birthday, leaves early from dinners. She misses seeing Chicago with her father because she's on the phone trying to find a flight for her boss who is stranded in Miami because there's a hurricane.
Miranda, hi. Look, I'm trying to get you a flight, but no one is flying out because of the weather.
Please, it's just, I don't know, drizzling. Someone must be getting out.
Yeah, she's like, imagine it's like so in the Field Museum in Chicago, there's this weird in the ancient Egyptian exhibit, there's this giant block on a sled, and the idea is that like there were like 100 men who would pull this sled, you know, but you can try pulling it yourself. And so when you're a little kid, of course, like you go to the rope and you try and pull the sled, and you get a friend, and you're like, come on, help me pull the sled, and the sled doesn't move anywhere. But that's, I don't know, the exact same trial you go through in trying to get a plane to fly out of a place when there's a hurricane going on.
She's trying to get everybody to fly Miranda out of Miami during a hurricane, and of course nobody's going to do it. So she gets to work the next day, and Miranda's like, you know, I thought you really cared about this job. and just completely gives her shit, and, like, as if she could control the fucking weather. And she goes in tears to Nigel and is like, I don't understand why Miranda hates me so much. And Nigel basically just gives her, like, a, suck it up, Buttercup. If you hate this job so much, you should quit, but this is what is expected of you, and you need to try harder. Like, that kind of a pep talk.
And so she does.
Like, she does. She tries harder. She changes herself entirely for the job.
She later does an impossible thing, and, like, the request was that
she
Miranda
get the unpublished manuscript of the new Harry Potter book.
Yeah.
Which is fucking impossible.
Because Miranda's grandchildren or nieces.
Her children. Her daughters.
Were, had finished the last one and were really needed to keep reading. And
well, Miranda also gives her this request because she's looking for an excuse to fire her.
Ah.
Because she was bringing, it's called The Book. It's the, what is going to be published in the new edition of Runway.
Woo!
So Andy is dropping that off at Miranda's house after it's done late at night, and these two little shit children tell her she can just carry it upstairs instead of leaving it on the table. And so Andy accidentally overhears Miranda and her husband having an argument. And Miranda's obviously embarrassed by this and appalled that Andy would come upstairs.
Intrude in their home.
So she's looking for a reason to fire her.
Yes. But yeah, she does the impossible thing and she gets the fucking manuscript, and by flirting with some dude, essentially, or having flirted with some dude.
Right. This dude, his name is Christian
Thompson.
Christian Thompson. So this is another interesting thing, I feel. Christian Thompson is a writer that Andy really respects and has, like, read all his work and is really into him. And he immediately sees her as a sex object.
Right.
And he, like, hits on her immediately, offers to look over her stuff, and also just does not take her seriously because her job is at Runway, and thinks that she'll never survive working for Miranda Priestley. So Andy is killing herself at this job to hopefully make her big break, and the guy in the industry that she wants to really be in is looking at her as
a joke.
Yeah, he's not taking her seriously.
Yeah.
And she ends up, like, having to prove herself to him too, and then they sleep together, which is really annoying. But yeah, they do. Well, I mean, that was kind of necessary to move to the next part where they find out about the betrayal.
Yeah. But basically this becomes a film about,
worker Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah, Stockholm Syndrome, and just, like, dealing, my boss is awful, but, at the end, if I could just do this, then the thing that will alleviate all this hardship will be there, and life won't fucking suck anymore.
Yeah, the people who wrote this movie are the same people who, when you are complaining about how you are underpaid for your labor and abused by your boss, they say, well, you gotta pay your dues.
Yeah, and, fuck those people. And they're the same people who are, like, who feel like that they were, like, roughing it and they left school and, like, had unpaid internships at, like, really fancy firms while their parents paid their rent for, years or whatever. Which is, fine. Intrinsically, I don't actually think there's anything...
I think internships should be paid, personally. But...
Absolutely. It's fine to have your parents pay your rent. I don't really give a shit. But, like, it's more that you feel like you accumulated, like, life lessons about, like, what it means to be poor.
Or that you're self-made.
Yeah, or that you're self-made or whatever, because you did this... you were able to be floated by while you worked for fucking free for someone.
Or just the idea that poverty is a temporary moment that is like almost like a character test that we all have to get through in order to make it, as opposed to an actual violence that is done to people that many, many, many people don't escape. In fact, most people who are in poverty don't escape. And those who are dipping temporarily into poverty usually didn't. It's not like the circumstance that they were born into, you know? Like, in my personal life, I'm pretty broke right now. Like, I don't have a lot of money. It's tough to pay my bills. But I come from a family that we're never rich, but, like, you know, I'll never be homeless. My parents can always put me up, and they're helping me go back to grad school and stuff. But this is all probably pretty temporary. Once I get my career finally started, even though I'm pushing 30, I'll be okay, you know? Like, that's different from the reality of poverty for most people, where
if you get, like, absolutely, if your job dries out, you don't necessarily have a place to go and live and stay. You don't have someone who can, like, cover you while the violence of capitalism, you know, does its business with you. There's, like,
and the people who are more like me, where they might have temporary poverty, but then they get out of it through the generosity and support of others, which is always ignored, are often the people who look at people who don't get out of poverty as people who have failed in some way. Like, it's a moral failing on their part.
Yep.
And this movie, I think, reinforces that a lot. I really don't like it. Like,
no, it's fucked up.
Like, she has this awful job and is abused by her boss. Like, she literally can't do anything in her personal life without her boss constantly calling her. And if she had at any point in this movie been like, this is fucking ridiculous, stop calling me in my off hours, you don't pay me enough for this, we would look at that like, well, the movie would look at that as she did the wrong thing.
Yeah, she failed.
Yeah. And the only time where, at the end of the movie, she does stand up for herself, but it's more about she doesn't want to become a person who betrays other people. Like,
yeah, she just doesn't want to become like this like old daft lady, you know, like.
Well, she's not daft.
Maybe daft is the wrong word.
She's very calculated and cunning. So what ends up happening is Andy goes to Fashion Week in Paris with Miranda, because Miranda has said, I want you to come instead of your coworker Emily, who Emily has seniority over Andy and has been anticipating going to Paris all year, and Miranda
starving herself for it.
Miranda Andy says, I can't do that to Emily, and Miranda says, you will or you'll lose your job. So Andy agrees to do this, and then while they're in Paris, Nigel reveals to Andy that he's going to get a position at another magazine or something.
He'll be able to, like...
He'll be in charge, calling the shots.
Yeah.
And he's very excited about it. Then Andy discovers that another woman named Jacqueline... I
think that's her name. Yeah.
Where?
I think that's who it is. Or no.
Point to the character that you're talking about.
Is this her? I don't know.
Jocelyn?
No, that's a different name. You're right.
I don't know. The character, some lady, is that Miranda really dislikes, is slated to take Miranda's job. So Miranda throws Nigel under the bus and sets this woman up to take the job that he was so excited to get. And Andy says to Miranda, I could never do what you did to Nigel. And Miranda points out, you already have, you did it to Emily. And that is the, like, moment where Andy's like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, the redemptive arc of this movie is, like, exactly 10 minutes long.
And it's the end of the movie.
It's her realizing she was kind of a jerk, throwing away the cell phone, and then it, like, cuts to her in... It's not even 10 minutes long.
I don't want to move on yet.
Oh, okay.
So I'm saying that the message here is that the point where it's okay to stand up to your boss isn't where you're being abused. It's where you're being asked to abuse others. Which I don't necessarily disagree that you should say no if you're being asked to abuse others. But I do disagree that it's... Like, I think that you should stand up and say no if your boss is abusing you.
Like that there's intrinsically something okay with your being like pushed way beyond like what you signed up for in any sort of employment.
And what you're being compensated for.
Yeah.
Like, she's off the clock when she's doing this shit. She gets a 15-minute lunch break, and when she goes home, she still has to be... Like, she's doing this woman's children's science fair projects and shit like that. So, then at the end of the movie, after she quits, she gets a job at a newspaper, and the guy says that she's been recommended highly by Miranda. Well, Miranda says that Andy was the biggest disappointment she's ever had, but he would be an idiot if he didn't hire her. Yeah, so...
What a like snooty thing to say.
The moral of the story is that, you know, suck up to your boss and things will work out for you.
Yeah. Yeah, in one way or the other. You know, if you put in the work, you know, you'll be compensated.
You just gotta pay your dues.
You know, the invisible hand will see that, and it will guide you to that wealth that you've been so sorely lacking. Yeah, sure.
Anyway, that's that movie. Let's move on to the next movie.
Fucking 9 to 5, which again 1980. Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, Dolly Parton, like it was stacked cast. It's Jane Fonda's. Wait, is it Jane Fonda's first day? Yeah.
Yeah, Jane Fonda's first day. She's a recently divorced woman. Her husband left her for his secretary.
And she has a goofy hat on that everyone's making fun of.
Yeah, and, well, she's got a very 80s look, but it's, like, very demure, kind of, I don't want to be looked at too hard by the boss, or, like, you know. Mm-hmm. Basically, she's very modestly dressed. I was just about to use the word modest. Yeah. So, it's her first day, and she meets Lily Tomlin, or Violet, played by Lily Tomlin. She's like the matron of The Office.
Yeah. Lily Tomlin, if you don't know, is most famous for The West Wing and being the voice of Mrs. Frizzle on the Magic School Bus.
Okay, class, time to take chances, make mistakes, get messy.
But I believe it's Miss Frizzle.
Oh, you're right.
Independent woman.
She is an independent
woman. Not held
woman.
Down by a man.
Pardon me, Miss Frizzle.
Much like Violet.
Yeah.
So Violet's whole thing is she's been at this office longer than anybody, including the boss. In fact, she trained him, and then he was put up for promotion. And then another guy that she trained is coming up for promotion, and a spot that she thought she would get, and the boss is telling her, he has a family to feed. And she's like, I have a family to feed. Yeah,
she's a single lady. She's got like a couple of kids who are all like trying to get her to smoke weed and stuff and just chill out.
They're good kids.
Yeah, they are good kids.
But she finally is like to the boss, just say it. Say what the reason is.
Well, in the first place, see, Bob does have a college degree.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. While he's away at college getting his precious, useless degree, I'm working my butt off at this company.
And in the second place, he does have a family to support.
And I don't? What has that got to do with anything?
Violet, look, my hands are tied here. The company needs a man in this position. Clients would rather deal with men when it comes to figures.
Oh, now we're getting at it. I lose a promotion because of some idiot prejudice. The boys in the club are threatened, and you're so intimidated by any woman that won't sit at the back of the bus.
And I mean, that's what this movie's about. It's the 80s. Women are trying to be taken seriously in the workplace, and men are keeping them down.
But they even go... Man, this movie goes into so many cool places. But one of the cool places it really goes is there's Dolly Parton, who's...
she plays Darla.
Yeah, Darla. Or Dora Lee.
Oh, Dora Lee. I'm sorry, Dora Lee Rhodes.
Yeah, Dora Lee.
And she dresses very sexy and sparkly.
Yeah,
throughout.
but it's not like... It's in that way that Dolly Parton does it, where it's not even... It doesn't feel like it's necessarily being, like... super sexy for being like erotic. It's just being fabulous.
Yes, she's fabulous, and also she just has this. I sympathize with her character here because she's got this really like curvaceous bod, where those same dresses on a less curvy woman would look less scandalous.
Sure.
I remember being in high school and getting chastised for clothing that my friends were also wearing the same clothes, but I had bigger boobs than them, so I was the one that was in trouble. It was unfair.
Yeah, but she's the secretary to the boss, who's Mr. Hart.
He's awful.
Dabney by
Oh,
Dabney
wait, what
Coleman.
do they call him? What's his first name? It's
Franklin?
Franklin Hart. So Violet likes to cover up the Ranklin and call him Mr. Fart. F. Hart. Fart.
What was I gonna say?
So we're talking about Dorley's.
Oh yeah. So there's this whole, right away, Jane Fonda is kind of one of the things she gleans from this office, besides the fact that, like, it's a bustling world and she doesn't quite understand it, is that, like, Dolly Parton is a snoot.
Everyone thinks that Dorley is sleeping with the boss because the boss has been telling everybody this is the case and leading people to believe it. And he is constantly making passes at her, and she's just dodging his passes expertly all over the place. And just being sweet as she can throughout, because she needs the fucking job.
Dolly fucking rules.
Yeah. The best part, I think, there's a lot of really good parts in this movie, but I really love the part where when Violet is yelling at the boss, at Mr. Hart for passing her for promotion, she then, like, says, she makes some comment about him sleeping with his secretary, and Dorley is like, what? You've been telling people this? And then just, like...
Don't get excited.
Get your scummy hands off of me. Look, I've been straight with you from the first day I got here, and I put up with all your pinching and staring and chasing me around the desk because I need this job, but this is the last straw.
All right, now wait, let's just sit down and...
Look, I got a gun out there in my purse, and up to now I've been forgiving and forgetting because of the way I was brought up, but I'll tell you one thing. If you ever say another word about me or make another indecent proposal, I'm going to get that gun of mine, and I'm going to change you from a rooster to a hen with one shot. Don't think I can't do it.
A little problematic. But
well, yeah, it's
also,
a little gender essentialist.
But
I
I'm
also
all for
shoot off the cocks of men who are fucking with
absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Everybody, if you take nothing else away from this podcast, I want you to feel after we're done that it's okay to shoot your boss's dick off.
Yep, 100%. But yeah, so they all end up getting a drink together.
Yeah, they're all mad.
They're all really mad.
Wait, so Violet's mad because she's been passed over promotion. Dorley is mad because her boss is spreading all these salacious rumors about her. Judy is mad because the what was her name? The Latina woman that worked with her. This very nice lady with two kids at home gets fired for pretty much fucking nothing. Just like she said something complaining about the boss in the ladies' restroom, and the office snitch told on her, so she got fired.
Yep.
So Judy is appalled that this poor woman who is a great worker would get fired, and she says, "I'm gonna go tell Violet about this," and walks off to the bar. To tell her about it.
Something in terms of like this snitch lady that's also worth keeping in mind is in sort of going with like the ideological background of this film, or something that's in the background of it, is they make some comment like pretty early on about any sort of utterances about unionization and how we need to like cut that out right away, and just this sort of that's in the background, and that we know that this is a
thing to look. She says we have to crack down on any talk of unionization. It's an anti-worker thing right off the bat.
Yeah, and so we have these ladies together having a drink, just sort of talking about how much the boss sucks.
Yeah.
And then they smoke some weed. They have a doobie.
Yeah, they go back to Is it
That was-
Dora? It's Violet's house. No, Violet's divorced, so it must have been Dora Lee's house because her husband's out of town.
Yep.
So they have a little girls' night.
A little sesh.
A little sesh, you know, a little event sesh. They get a little drunk. They smoke a little weed. They eat a ton of food.
Yeah, they have a good old time.
They have a great time, and they discuss their really in-depth fantasies about how they would like to kill their boss.
And or just like humiliate him, or like hog tie him, they're awesome.
He dies at the end of every single one.
Does
of
he
these
die at the end of all of them?
Yeah.
So
Dora
cool.
Lee hog ties him and roasts him on a spit.
Oh, yeah.
Judy wants to lead a hunt through the office.
Yes.
Where people are chasing him down with dogs and with torches and things, the whole office. And Violet just wants to poison him, which becomes important later.
It does.
So the next day at work, Violet's been asked to go get Mr. Hart a coffee yet again, even though it's not in her job description, and she has way too much work to do besides this. So she goes to the little office kitchen and is preparing his coffee with his skinny and sweet instead of sugar, and accidentally pours rat poison, or she thinks she accidentally pours rat poison into the coffee because the box looks just like the skinny and sweet box.
Yeah, like she brings the boss the coffee without thinking about it at all, and then I forget what the incident that occurred.
His chair is broken, and he falls backwards and hits his head.
That's right.
And the coffee spills, and he's taken out, and Violet has realized this mistake that she thinks she made, and is running to tell him, like, oh, no, don't drink the coffee, when she sees him being carried out in an ambulance, or on a stretcher, or something, I forget. And so she thinks that she's poisoned him.
Yep.
And she grabs her friends, and they rush to the hospital, because she's like, they've got to pump his stomach, we've got to tell them. And they get there, and they see, in the room that he just went into, a doctor talking to a police officer, and saying, I've got to do an autopsy, the guy died, and she thinks it's her boss. Actually, her boss is fine. It's another guy in the same room.
Yeah, boss just hit his head.
Yeah, so there's this really hilarious scene where they steal the body while it's on the stretcher.
Not the boss's body.
Not the boss's body, this other poor soul. His face is covered, so they don't know it's him. Put him in the back of their car, they're going to go dump him, and they hit something, and they're trying to get a tire iron out of the back of the car, and realize it's the wrong dude. So they go back to the hospital, dump the body in the toilet, or in the bathroom, which apparently happens all the time, because the cleaning ladies were like, oh, we got another stiff in the john, which I thought was really funny. And then the next day at the office, they're discussing it in the bathroom, and they don't realize that Roz, the office snitch, is in there listening, and she tells the boss what she heard. So he tells Dora Lee that they found strychnine in my blood system, and I heard the whole thing. I know that you all were trying to kill me.
I honestly, I mean, I guess, did he hear that they also stole a fake body and went to great lengths to cover this up? I don't think so.
Mostly he's aware that they thought that they poisoned him. And he knows damn well that he wasn't poisoned, but he tells them that he was poisoned.
I'm just thinking, if he had known that they also went to such great lengths to dispose of this body, maybe he would have kept this information to himself and not forced their hand.
But he also thinks that they're weak and not
That's
going to
true.
do anything because they're women.
That's true.
So they all completely overreact and tie him up and take him to his house where his wife is away on a cruise for 4 weeks because he didn't want to go with her because he's a jerk.
Yep.
And they keep him in this amazing contraption involving a garage door opener and some S&M gear.
It's so fucking cool.
Every time he tries to do anything, they push the button on the garage door opener and it lifts him up to the ceiling.
It's so cool.
They keep him there for several weeks while they can gather evidence that he has been embezzling money. Because there's a warehouse that supposedly this equipment was in, but it's actually empty because he sold off all the equipment and pocketed the money. So they're keeping him there. They send Roz away to learn French at some intensive learning thing to get her out of the way. And
and they run the fucking office.
Yeah, they run the fucking office. They start a daycare center. They start an alcohol recovery program for the one drunk lady.
Yeah, there's one drunk lady who's a riot.
But she gets all better. What else do they do? They have a job sharing program so that you can split your hours with another employee. More flexible hours. Everybody's really happy. The office is running efficiently. They change all the decor.
They're like really, really productive is just like part of it also is.
And it's just a really like woman friendly work environment.
Yep. And then the wife comes back, right? And that's how this is all sort of doesn't come crashing down, I guess. But.
No, he tells her that it's an exercise routine that he's doing.
Yeah.
And that's why he's in this contraption. And then convinces her to go stay in a hotel so that our three heroes won't know that he's on them. And then he starts putting all the equipment back in the warehouse so that they won't have any evidence.
Okay. Yeah.
But then they're all saved when he comes back to the office for something, I forget. And they... the big boss, the owner of the company, comes in because he wants to see this sudden increase in productivity that's been going on.
Yep. And
he doesn't know that the reason all this stuff has happened is these three women have been forging his signatures, and nobody's missed this guy because they all hate him.
Yeah, and just there's been a series of memos coming out.
Yeah.
With his signature there.
Because Dorothy's really good at forging his signature.
Yeah, and with the idea of, I mean, they're all basically memos with the worker in mind.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful.
And productivity increases 20% in a course of like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So the big boss comes down to see this and immediately is like, I'm reassigning you to our new branch in Brazil. You're going to be in charge of the whole operation. It's a huge promotion. I'm really proud of you. And I won't take no for an answer. So Jude is out of their hair. Violet becomes new head of this department, like she ought to be. And that's the moral. That's the end of the movie.
I mean, it's so when I watch this movie, as opposed to the more like traditional capitalist relation of The Devil Wears Prada, of how you're supposed to like deal with your boss, is just like deal with it, and deal with your workplace, which is be under the thumb of it at all times. This one, there's no, broader move to like, once the boss is gone, like, let's talk unionization. That would be like too much to ask of this film. But
well, it was in the Reagan 80s.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it wasn't actually.
It wasn't quite then yet.
Yeah.
What year? Was it 1980? When did Reagan
1980.
Get into office?
80, maybe 78.
I'm going to look it up.
88 was George Bush, 92. Yeah. So it was the Reagan 80s.
Yeah.
But we...
No, he became president in 81.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Okay. 81.
Who was before him?
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking election years.
Yeah, no. He was preceded by...
Carter.
Yeah. Yeah, Jimmy Carter.
Yeah. I know a little.
A little.
But whatever the case, they don't take the radical step of like, now that the boss is gone, like, let's democratize our workplace or whatever. But they do
everything that their workers want them to do.
Essentially, this is the most of the three films we talk about. This one has the most like traditional Marxist praxis. I'm sorry, I always use that word.
It's praxis, not praxis.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah.
What the hell's wrong
but
with
like
me?
More than it being like a workers' rights thing, it's really more a movie about feminism in the workpace.
Yeah,
and specifically white feminism in the workplace.
Yes.
Although there are a few people of color in the movie who have a role. They're very minor characters. But I do think that so there's the mailroom guy.
Yeah.
This black man who he meets Judy and is like, man, I'm never going to get out of the mailroom if they keep hiring people from the outside. Yeah. Which I wonder if he's being kept in the mailroom partly because of his race.
I mean,
It
wouldn't...
seems... I mean, it's not overtly said, but I wonder if that's part... Because, like, everybody in their mailroom is black.
Yep.
And I wonder if that was done on purpose. I wish that they had been more overt about saying it. It would have been a much more radical movie, but it was the 80s. So.
Yeah, it was... I mean, it was some really cool stuff for, like, a very campy comedy.
Yeah.
In 1980s, starring Dolly fucking Parton, who rules. But yeah.
I think this might be the oldest movie we talked about. It's like 38 years old.
Yeah, I think this is... Yeah, I think it is. We've had a lot of the 90s.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean... I don't know, yeah. It's the closest to seizing the means of production that any of these movies attempt to get.
And they also just straight up kidnap their boss and tie him up and humiliate him over and over again, which is wonderful.
Yeah, which is the fantasy. I mean, I don't know. I'm not that sort of dude where I have the energy to humiliate someone, like, you know, or physically, like, deal with someone in that way.
You're not going to be the one dragging the bourgeois families out of their homes and beating them in the streets.
I don't think so.
No,
I will knock on their door and say, hey, the mob is coming. You know, you should probably leave the property now.
Just surrender the mansion to us.
To all of us, everyone.
You know, if you join us, we won't have to kill you.
And it's your mansion too.
Yeah.
It's just all of our mansion now, bucko.
Okay.
But yeah, whatever the case, yeah, I'm not the dragger.
No, I don't think I could be either.
I'm not the hog tire.
I really hate violence a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Holden's
me too.
listening to this podcast and
shaking his head.
He's fucking liberal shit.
But yeah, I don't know. I thought 9 to 5 was a gem that I can't believe I missed all these years. Thank you for showing it to me.
Can we just mention that Dolly Parton is actually really cool?
Yeah, she fucking rules.
During I believe it was people whose homes were wiped out in some wildfire, she like literally just straight up gave cash to people so that they could like get on their feet, which like it's so unusual for a charitable cause to just straight up give people money. It's usually like, oh, we'll give you food. She also has a program where she gives books to poor children because when she was a little kid living in a very impoverished family, she said books were really good for her.
I mean, her ass didn't have electricity, like, as a child.
She had to take baths in their backyard.
They, like...
And she didn't know it was, she always said she didn't really realize that it was, like, a problem because she was a little kid, but...
Yeah, she talked about how they had to ration electricity for, like, in case there was, like, an emergency that they could have the radio going, and so they just didn't use electricity the rest of the time, just in case. I'm just, like, and she went to Nashville and, like, has an amazing voice and, like, did her fucking thing and just turned into an awesome person who, like, is, like, a queer-friendly country star.
Yeah, she opens
and,
Dollywood up to, like, a Pride Day. But also, like, I just like that she is one of the very few people who's a real rags to riches story. And did not make a movie being like, if you just pay your dues long enough, you'll get there.
Yeah, there's none of that. There's no, and there's no...
Like, the movie that she's in is literally just, like, the boss is an asshole, and you've got to fucking take what's yours.
Yeah, and that's, like, her whole life. Her whole life is just, there's no, like... I did it, you could too, like, there's none of that. She's like,
and that doesn't seem like who she is. Like, she's like, I get it, it sucks out there, it's hard, I was lucky. Not everybody has a amazing singing voice and a hot bod. Yeah,
I was talented and lucky, and like, I worked real hard, but that doesn't mean, like...
Maybe, I don't know that much about her, but I just don't see her being somebody who's like, I'm a self-made millionaire. I did it all on my own with no help, and you should too.
I've heard her interviewed a number of times, and nowhere have I heard her her tone be anything like that.
Yeah,
she just
she
seems
sounds,
like a
really
kind lady.
Yeah.
who gets the unusual mechanisms that had to fall into place for her to be like an incredibly wealthy person now.
Yeah, and she does try to help people. I mean, I understand charity, philanthropy, it's not the same thing as class solidarity or, redistribution, but I do appreciate that she isn't just, like, using it to, like, fuck over everybody who's
in terms
poor.
of being a fabulously wealthy person, she does it very well.
I would kindly knock on the door of her mansion and suggest that she vacate the premises or turn it over and give her a really good head start.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come the revolution.
Yeah.
Whereas Jeff Bezos, I'm surprising that motherfucker with the key.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
but
like
Dolly gets a good week head start.
When the guillotines start rolling out, I'm adding her on Twitter. I'm finding her phone number.
Dolly, hide!
I'm getting on a plane, be like, Dolly, get out of your home.
Or just join us, please join us.
Yeah, she might just be out there.
She might be like, yeah, fuck it, let's buy everybody a gun.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, Dolly, if you're listening, we think you're pretty cool.
Yeah, come on, Popcorn Pod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our third movie,
Office Space.
Office Space. Everybody's seen Office Space,
I
right?
think everyone's seen Office. I don't know what the demographics of people listening to this are. There's so many young people, and I don't.
Well, you've all seen the meme, right? Like, there's been a few memes. Like the guy with the. Okay, kids. If you haven't seen this movie, you know the meme of, like, the white guy with suspenders holding a cup of coffee being like, yeah, I'm gonna need blah, 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 blah. It's from that movie.
That's Gary Cole, and he plays Bill Lumberg.
Bill Lumberg.
Yeah, Office Space. Mike Judge.
Guy.
I don't know. I sort of sit on the fence about Mike Judge in general. Like, I think Office Space is the second best thing he's done after King of the Hill, which I really like, which actually might be conservative. I'm not sure.
I don't know. They named their dog after Lady Bird Johnson. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't know. But Bobby is one of television's best characters of all time.
Peggy's pretty good, too.
Peggy's also really good. I mean, the whole cast, it's all really, it's a wonderful show.
One of my favorite Tumblr posts ever was, man, I forget the scale. It was on a scale of somebody who really trusts the government to Katniss Everdeen. How much do you trust the government? And the answer was Dale. I'll have to find it. Now I wish I knew what it was.
But he also did Idiocracy, which
that movie sucks. We're never doing that movie.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get me to sit through that movie again. Beyond the fact that it's just, like, generally...
It's a eugenics movie.
Well, yeah, I was going to build to that. But, yeah, it's generally unfunny. None of it seems like smart humor or anything. And nothing in Office Space is either. But... and
everybody who thinks that movie is insightful is a terrible person.
Yeah, I mean, it's
like,
fucking lazy.
Like... Outside of them thinking that movie was insightful, I've never met somebody who thought the movie was insightful that wasn't also a shitty person. Like,
yeah.
Regardless of their opinion on that movie.
Yeah. I mean, it breaks down to, like, the whole idea of the movie is that, like, there are people of lower intelligence who are having more babies, and then, our protagonist gets frozen or whatever, and then he reemerges, and all of these less intelligent people have had so many babies, so the world is so much less intelligent, which is literally eugenics, or what eugenics, says is the ultimate, price for not participating in a eugenics program. So yeah, fuck Mike Judge for that one. But Office Space, I would not say is necessarily... I mean, it tries to escape ideology at all by not actually, like, having any larger critiques the system in place at all, except that like life is miserable when you're an office drone.
Yeah, so they definitely hate their jobs and their bosses and the system and they rebel against it by stealing from work. But at the end of the movie, Peter, our protagonist, gets a job working outside at the same place where, so backing up a little bit, he says to his neighbor,
Let me ask you something. When you come in on Monday and you're not feeling real well, does anyone ever say to you, sounds like someone has a case of the Mondays?
No. No, man. Shit, no, man. I believe you get your ass kicked saying something like that, man.
which sort of is like a foreshadowing that this is the environment that Peter needs to be in.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie, he gets a job with a construction company that Lawrence works for.
Yeah, ultimately, that this is a film about like masculinity in a environment that's like castrating.
I don't
essentially.
know if it's just that though.
No, but I guess you're right.
Because it's more. I mean, that is. Yes, it is that. I mean, but mostly I think it's complaining about corporate culture as such. Because also Jennifer Aniston is super frustrated by the.
That's true.
Inane, arbitrary, silly expectations and impossible standards being set at her shitty waitressing job with her pieces of flair, where there's a minimum number of pieces of flair which she wears, but they're annoyed that she only does the minimum. And it's like, well, if you want me to wear more, then make the minimum more. And presumably she's being paid the minimum. Like, I wish that at some point she would have been like, well, you pay me minimum wage, so I'm going to put forth minimum effort.
Yep.
But...
yeah. I mean, okay, so the whole premise of this movie is this dude, he hates his job like you would. He actually sums it up in a way that I used to feel a lot when I worked at a grocery store and was in high school and was just like a depressed kid. I saw Office Space and was like, wait, holy shit. And it's the, every day I wake up and go to work is the worst day of my life.
Yeah,
like,
every day since I started working has been worse.
Yeah.
So when you're talking to me, it's on the worst day of my life.
Yeah. Which is fucking heavy, but, when I was like a kid and, again, everything was miserable, I was like, holy shit. Holy fuck. Yeah, this is me. And I, like, instantly identified with Peter, played by Ron Livingston. So he goes, he has a couple friends at this workplace, and Peter goes to a hypnotherapy session with his girlfriend, who everyone sort of assumes is cheating on him.
She is cheating on him.
And yeah, it turns out to be true. She seems like not a great person in general. But when he's being hypnotized and put in a very relaxed state, the hypnotist suddenly suffers a heart attack. So he just gets stuck in this Zen place for at least part of the rest of the movie. Instead of going into work the next day, like he was asked to on a Saturday of all days, he just sleeps through the many phone calls from his girlfriend and his boss and just enjoys his day in bed. When he finally comes in on Monday, he shows up like a couple hours late after asking out Jennifer Aniston, the waitress at the restaurant who he's been like admiring. He shows up in his, in flip-flops and, casual clothes and all that shit. All while the office itself is going through like a downsizing process. He should be like fearing for his job in some way.
But he just doesn't give a shit.
I
really like where he unscrews the supports holding up the wall to his cubicle and just lets it fall over. And also where he guts a fish at his desk.
Yeah.
That was fucking badass.
I mean, it's all cool as shit, but it's like this very like libidinal fantasy that you know, the people who like this film like look at it and be like, yeah, I could do that. I could just not give a shit, and then, you know, maybe like, and it'll just work out. But, you know, capitalism is fucking cruel, and, you know, if you just did this, you'd get fired, and probably your significant other would leave you, and your child support payments would add up, and your credit card bills would add up, and then you go to jail for the debt that you owe because you just didn't give a shit and stopped, you know, going to work rather than getting promoted like he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes to the Bobs, who are John C. McGinley, who's Dr. Cox on Scrubs, and Paul Wilson.
He has kind of a Hitler stash thing going in that movie.
He does. Yeah, it is weird. It's very weird.
I think it's supposed to just make him look like a nerd.
Yeah, but it does kind of make him look like Hitler.
Yeah, like a gingery Hitler.
Yeah, which... never mind. But, you know, it ultimately, so there's a couple things in this film, and he's just like in this zenned out mode where he's just like, he sits down and is like, they're like, take us through your day. He's like, well, I get in 15 minutes late. I then stare at my computer for like 3 hours, and then I go to lunch, and then I come back and I stare at my computer. I maybe do 15 minutes of real work a week.
I had an office job where I was doing a lot of data entry, which is a little similar to what he's doing, and like same.
Yeah.
I really didn't do very much for like most of my day. It was painfully boring work.
I had a job for a little while where I took a lot of phone calls at like really shitty hours. Like I was ultimately still working like 10 to 12 hours a day, but 8 to 10 of those hours was just like, I figured out how to just fuck around on Twitter for a good chunk of that day.
I did a lot of that.
Or I had like all sorts of locations that I could be at, so I'd take long roundabout strolls from location to location, and, you know, if like someone needed help, if people were working under me like needed something, I was really good and responsive to things like that, and that's why people really liked me who worked under me, and which is why I was able to keep this job as long as I did. But everything else, I like made up projects that I was working on for my bosses that, you know, would take way more time than they would actually take to complete. And so I figured it out. It was pretty rad.
Yeah.
I still hated it, but it was the time I just spent fucking around on the internet was what I think people in offices get to do now, and it's cool. I got to taste that.
It sucked. I really hated it, actually, because, like, well, mainly, like, my office was very directionless. Like, I don't think they knew what they wanted me to be doing.
Okay.
And so I would be trying to find work for myself to do, and then I would come up with these projects that, like, really didn't have much of a point.
Okay.
And it would just be, like, a huge waste of everyone's time, and then everybody was getting, like, people who were under me were getting paid a lot more than me, which was really annoying, because they were student interns and technically worked for a different entity than I did.
Okay.
So they were being paid in a different way than I was and making, like, several dollars more an hour than me, and it was very upsetting. And I brought it up to my boss at one point. I was like, I don't understand where I'm placed in the hierarchy here. Like, I'm supposed to be giving direction to these people, but they all make a lot more money than me and seem to know, like, have more expertise than me. Like, what am I doing?
Sounds like you're narking on yourself there.
Well, I mean, I didn't, like, say it quite like that, but I was mostly just like, I'm supposed to be a supervisor to these people, but I don't have any real authority, and they all make a lot more than me. Like, I need to, like, know that this job is going somewhere. And this was like my like direct supervisor, who was a really nice guy that I was talking to. And he was like, yeah, like we'll work on this. Like let's keep working on this and talking about this, and I'll keep helping you improve. And then 2 months later, I got laid off.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad.
So in this, well, what's his name? Peter. He sits down with the Bobs, and they start going through who's going to get laid off. And this is, so I would take this movie, how they deal with their frustration of work, as almost an egoist approach to dealing with a shitty boss, in a way that I don't necessarily condone wholly, but that in the sense there's lots of egoists have class solidarity and things like that, which is not displayed in this at all, because as the Bobs list off the people that they're gonna can, Peter just like is like, oh, okay, until they get to like his friends, and then it sort of like snaps that like he should give a shit about this. But before that, he just kind of doesn't care that his fellow drones are getting laid off while he's actually not doing fucking anything and getting promoted. So he and his friends, Michael Bolton and Samir, hatch a plan to...
They don't even put Samir's last name on the IMDb.
I mean, they don't...
The running joke is Samir is a Middle Eastern man from a country that they don't specify. His last name is too complicated for anyone to pronounce, and they butcher it all over the place, and it's a little cringy.
Getting rid of these people here. First, Mr. Samir Naga. Not gonna work here anymore anyway.
Yeah, I mean, so there's like there's a couple things like that in here. Like Michael Bolton, played by David Herman, in the very first scene, you see him, everyone's stuck in traffic. Peter's losing his mind, so is Samir, but Michael Bolton is listening to, I think he's listening to Tupac, and like rapping along with everything like really aggressively, and then he sees a person of color selling flowers, I think, on the side of the road, and like locks the door and turns down the music a little bit. He keeps rapping, but like it's, I mean, both that joke and the...
I think they're making fun of him for being so white and pathetic.
Well, and I think it's like a similar thing with them mispronouncing Samir's name and being unable to give a shit enough to like figure out how to pronounce sort of like Anglo-Saxon names.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely in some ways feels like it's a critique of the environment and how they're treating Samir, but also like it comes off kind of racist. I think it was handled poorly in the movie.
Yeah, I'm willing to buy that.
Like it kind of makes him into the butt of the joke a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, Samir ends up sort of being the butt of jokes throughout, unfortunately.
They soften it by also making fun of Michael Bolton's name a lot.
Yeah.
But they still are making Samir and his goofy name, in quotes, goofy, the butt of a joke.
Yep.
Which sucks.
Yeah. But, yeah, they hatch a plan, because they're about to get laid off, except for Peter.
He's getting a promotion for doing nothing.
For being not challenged enough.
He's a white guy failing upwards.
Yeah, which, tracks.
Yeah.
But they hatch a plan to do... Apparently it's a thing. I've never seen Superman 3, but it's apparently a scheme from Superman 3 where all the little transactions that happen throughout the day at this company, the little... the amounts,
like fractions of a cent.
Yeah, fractions of a cent.
They get rounded off.
Get rounded off, and they figured out how to round this off. The stuff that gets rounded off, to deposit it in an account, so that they could slowly gain wealth over a couple of years, and The whole idea is they're, even if they get caught, it's like, they get to go to a minimum security blue collar prison. It ain't no thing. White collar prison, yeah. Yikes. And, of course they don't they do bring this up, the state is very protective of its corporations. And stealing from corporations is a pretty heinous crime in the eyes of the state. And they will fuck you up if you're caught doing that. The plan goes awry.
Yeah, they accidentally take too much money. They just take $300,000 at once.
Yeah. They get fucked up. They feel like they're all gonna go to jail and it's all bad, and Peter decides to basically own up to it. He
takes the fall for everybody else.
Yeah, he gets a bunch of, it looked like traveler's checks that he had written out.
Yeah, and then he writes a confession and sticks it all under the door of Lundberg's office. But
then Milton, who is the... Can we talk about Milton for like a couple of minutes?
Yeah.
What do you think about Milton?
I mean, if I met Milton in real life, I would think that he was disabled. And maybe making jokes about him was like a little fucked up.
Yeah.
But he's basically a guy who everybody sort of ignores when he's trying to express himself. Everybody just ignores his concerns all the time, and he's just constantly getting pushed around. He was laid off years ago, but through a glitch in payroll, he's still getting a paycheck, so he doesn't know he's laid off. So their solution is to just stop giving him a paycheck, and then it'll work itself out. Nobody actually tells him that he's been
And no one told him that he was laid off years ago either.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
So nobody ever just is straight with him, and they're rude to him, and they don't listen to him.
He's he's someone who doesn't communicate very well.
No.
I don't think he's playing a person who's neurotypical, and as such, and I would say that this is, I know he's sort of the butt of jokes, or he is the butt of jokes, but it is also it falls under critique of corporate culture because of his non-neurotypicality.
His neurodivergence?
Because of his neurodivergence.
I don't know if it's the right word, but anyway.
He gets, they talked about he's had to move his desk 4 times this year. He's very protective of a stapler that
they keep trying to take a stapler, and he's like, no, it's my stapler.
Yeah.
But I think that it's not that he's being petty, it's that it's it represents them shitting on him and taking from him. And it's one thing that he's been able to protect.
Right. He has nothing left, but he has this stapler.
Yeah.
That he really likes. And it's a cool red stapler, and I feel it.
Yeah. But eventually, dude snaps and burns the office down.
Yeah,
and I fucking agree with him. They were terrible to him.
Yeah.
And he didn't get in trouble for it.
No. Yeah, he ruled. He just, and, he warned them many times, but because no one listened to him.
Yeah.
Including Peter.
Yeah.
Our protagonist also didn't give a shit about him.
Yeah.
No one did. But he did save the day.
Yeah, Peter would have ended up in prison if it weren't for Milton.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All of them would. What else? What else is in here? I don't know. Sort of theme. It's weird how rap music's role in this, and gangster rap specifically, Ghetto Boys, Tupac.
It's used ironically.
You think?
Well, okay, it's used in that way that I see a lot of white hipsters use it, where it's kind of ironic, look, we're these white nerds and we're listening to this really aggressive rap music. So there's that layer, but then there's also the layer of, I think it's seen as a very masculine music, and these men are sort of reclaiming their toughness and their masculinity through this music.
The scene of them destroying the copy machine.
Yeah.
Is the iconic scene from this, really.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that the music also, it's just that it sounds cool.
I mean, yeah, it does.
Like, I think that's the major aspect of it, is that it's cool. And it's making these guys seem more cool.
Yeah, or at least, like, that courage, or, you know, it's that internal courage of, like, you know, like, I'm not cool, but I can fucking do this, you know. I can steal this shit.
Oh, and it's like... I'm sorry.
No.
So, like, there's this sort of thing that I think exists in every white person, where if they are listening to rap music really loud, they feel a little cooler than they actually are. And I think that this is what's this movie is kind of touching on.
Yeah.
I mean, we see it in the beginning with Michael listening to Tupac in the car and rapping along with it and feeling really chill and awesome, but then he sees a black guy on the highway and is like, oh.
Yeah.
He, like, he realizes that he's a fucking nerd.
Yep.
And that he looks like an asshole.
Yep.
I mean, I also think he's projecting a lot onto this person who is just trying to do his fucking job and probably is not thinking about what he's doing.
No,
like,
absolutely. That's like, I mean, that's 100% that's the joke, is that he's truly projecting onto, like, assuming that this person is going to judge him harshly.
he's a very insecure white guy.
Yeah. Well, and also he's afraid of this person.
Yeah.
Despite, like, admiring, you know...
This person who's just a guy selling flowers on the road. Or whatever. Is it flowers? I think it was flowers.
I think it was flowers. I don't know, there's a couple other things in here. Yeah, again, the what's his name? Tom, who gets laid off and then tries to kill himself, realizes he loves his wife and doesn't, but then gets hit by a truck, and then there's this big sort of... He throws a party because he wins, like, a 7-figure lawsuit from the guy who hit him, and he's totally he's got, like, the full body cast thing going on, and he's just sort of has this, like, lucky me thing going on, and there's no, like, I mean, the party is more a vehicle for the plot to bring up that they're not going to go to a white collar prison if they get caught, and also to, like, bring out the misogyny of Peter in reference to his girlfriend at the time, but it is this weird, you get this, like, portrait of, like, oh man, like, capitalism is, like, fucked up. Where...
Yeah, I mean, whom amongst us has not secretly hoped to get hit by a car?
No, yeah, absolutely.
So that we don't have to work anymore.
My hand is in the air, yeah. If anyone out there is real rich and wants to lose some of that wealth, come hit me with your car, because game on, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, it'll hurt a lot, but then it'll hurt a little bit less, and, yeah.
Yeah, but...
my pain and suffering needs to be compensated for, so...
Yes. You know, I think that's sort of like a riff on, you know, this whole film is, like, that weird fantasy of, like, you know, if I just did my fucking thing, everyone would fall in line, and you know, I would succeed if I just, like, stopped giving a shit. But, like, Tom getting hit by this car is, like, the real being thrust into this fantasy that, like, actually, like, being, you know, making money and being successful is violence.
Yeah.
You know, no matter how you do it, his was a very direct way of doing it. But, yeah, ultimately it's violence and not, you know, being a zenned out weirdo.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, I mean, yeah, Peter does the, like, you know, fuck it, let's just steal from work thing, which I think is, you know, pretty cool. I've not really done that since I was, like, a kid, but, you know, I'm, theoretically, all for it, except that I need to keep my job.
Yeah. There's not much that I could steal from my work.
Kids.
Yeah. And then even if I was stealing from work, if I was like embezzling money from a school.
Yeah, no, that's really shitty. That would be
all like counter-revolutionary, I think.
Yeah,
stealing money from children.
Yeah, public utilities are, good.
What if I steal money from a charter school?
If you can figure out a way to do that, that's fucking cool as hell. I don't know. You hear about that guy I think What a Time did this, but that guy in Spain he was like the head of the archives of some town, and he hadn't come to work in 12 years. Like, he went in at 7:30 in the morning every morning and punched in, and then came back at like 4:30 or 3:30 in the afternoon and punched out, and he did that every day for 12 years.
That's so cool. How did nobody notice?
I have no idea.
I want this job.
I
12 years he gets caught, but fuck, that's 12 years.
He's defended himself, and he's like, I've done nothing wrong. Which I think is amazing.
I agree with him. I don't see how that's wrong.
But yeah, I don't know. If you can figure out ways to do that and drain your charter school of resources, that's fucking cool.
I'd rather do it at a private school.
Yeah. That's
and
the
private
ultimate.
school teachers are notoriously underpaid, so.
Yeah, if you can figure out a way.
Steal from some rich brats.
Yeah, if anyone has any really good ideas.
Yeah. Oh, God. You know what? I really hope nobody ever listens to this that might hire me. Just a disclaimer, I'm just joking. I would never steal from children.
No, absolutely not. Never from children.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah, I think that's all for this week. This is pretty nice and tidy, like hour 15-ish or whatever.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I think that the takeaway from this is shoot your boss in the dick.
Yeah, shoot your boss in the dick as the best practice.
That's it.
Yeah, and not shout outs, that's the wrong thing. You should follow us at popcorn_pod on Twitter. Share us at soundcloud.com/the Conquest of Popcorn. Rate us on iTunes, I guess.